So questions I've been getting is somewhere along the lines of, how does what's going on now with FTX and Genesis and all this stuff? How does that compare to Mt. Gox? How does it compare to 2018? How does it compare to even Luna? Right? Somebody asked me, well, how does this compare to what happened earlier this year? I haven't been around to know what Mt. Gox was like. Well, let's talk about Luna. Let's make that our point of comparison. We're going to do 2018 too. But the thing about it, so here's what I'll say about the Luna mess. That was really, really, really bad. I know a lot of people, I'm told, people have told me the amounts of money that they lost in UST. Not so much Luna, although a few people did get wiped out from Luna, but they put all this money in UST for that yield. And that's really where it what I think was the killer for so many people. But that was something where, on some level, people kind of had to know that there was a little bit of personal accountability that went into that, of allocating that much of your wealth to an experimental financial protocol. It was experimental technology. And there was a big crypto bro element. It just seemed like the crypto bros were the ones kind of perpetrating everything. And I think that gave it a little bit of a different quality than what's going on with FTX, where you had somebody who was so visible and seemed so buttoned up, and he had the ear of the regulator. Well, at least in the US, he had the ear of the regulators, and he just turned out to be a fraud, a massive fraud. And it's not just that people put money into an experimental financial protocol. They put money into an exchange expecting that they'd be able to pull it out. And then there's the daisy chain of all these other entities that had entrusted FTX with cryptocurrency. And FTX was running a blatant fraud. It was theft. I mean, I don't know if it's the legal definition of theft, but it's taking people's money and spending it on yourself. So I don't know if it's technically theft, if somebody gives it to you voluntarily, but it's certainly fraud. So I think that hits harder, because that's not your fault. I mean, some people are going to blame you. And sure, you can always take responsibility, but it's not like you made a decision that resulted in you suffering these consequences, and then there are ripple effects from that. It's you made a decision that somebody else took advantage of to screw you, for lack of a better term. And I think it's that betrayal. A guy who's visible, the face of crypto for some people, for many people, he's the face of crypto. And for a lot of people, he felt like he's one of us. So it hits harder emotionally. Now, we haven't seen the same type of impact on the price on the market, that collapse that we saw immediately after UST Luna. Maybe it comes. Maybe it comes. We're not saying it's not going to come. But we're not seeing that. I'm not getting the rage quitting. I'm out. I'm done. This is a scam. I can't believe I fell for it. Even though I know there are a lot of people in that situation. And you and people you may have funds lost when FTX went down, and maybe some of these other exchanges. I wish there was something I could say about that would be in any way comforting or encouraging. As far as comparing it to previous times, so we talked a little bit about Luna. That was more of an emotional thing. We'll see if it has the same kind of price and structural impact, technological impact. We'll see. We don't know yet. Those shoes haven't fallen. As far as comparing to 2018, I was fairly new. For me, like, I was still really excited about the technology, the potential of the technology. I had just finished writing did I publish at the end of 2018? I might have published in March 29th. I can't even remember when I published Consensus Land. But for me, I was still on that learning journey and that learning experience. And I wasn't really hit hard by 2017. I got in very near the top, at the end of 2017. And I just looked around and I said, this is insane. And I pulled my original investment out. And then when the market crashed, I was just left with a massive tax bill from just swapping cryptocurrencies, thinking I could trade the market, which was dumb. But I thought it was free money, right? Everybody said, oh, you take your money back out and let the rest ride. It's on the house. It's house money. Well, it's house money until you pay the capital gains taxes. But by the time I came back to it in 2018, later in 2018, the market had pretty much deflated, and I wasn't so immersed that I really recognized and understood and appreciated just how much of an emotional toll and a financial toll it took on a lot of people. The other thing that's that is objectively different is there are actual things that run on cryptocurrency and that deliver value. Now, people may disagree whether that's something to invest in, but you can't deny that cryptocurrency now does things that are valuable. Altcoins, DeFi, a lot of the tokens are I would never buy the tokens. Some of the protocols seem extraneous, superfluous, unnecessary. But there are some of this DeFi technology is really robust, and it's going to be sort of the plumbing of new financial networks and new financial systems that are going to be built out in the coming decades. So that's something tangible that didn't exist in 2018. You also have NFTs that are now being integrated into actual businesses. You didn't have that in 2018. You have a lot of projects that now have years of experience in development. Experimental financial technology. It's still experimental, but it exists. It's not just a white paper. It exists. It exists in the real world. It's been built. It's been developed. Didn't have that in 2018. And on top of that, institutions are not a myth anymore. It's not a meme anymore. And it goes beyond VCs. A guy like me should not be having conversations with pension funds. But they're interested. They get it now. They understand. And the question is not anymore for a lot of these large pools of capital. And I'll include, the Fidelities, people who manage 401ks, all these things. The question is no longer, the question is now, how do they get into this market? How do they get a stake in this market in a way that's responsible? In a way where they can honor their fiduciary responsibility and their professional integrity and their reputation, but also get a stake in what they realize, what you and I realize, that the technology is inevitable. Now, which specific projects win, we'll see, but the technology is undeniable. That's a very, very different feeling than when I got into crypto. It's a very, very different feeling in 2018. There are just some hurdles that we're going to need to get past, some obstacles that we're going to need to clear before we can really get rolling again. But at least there's a basis and a foundation to start from. And there wasn't anything like that in 2018. And I don't know how it was back in Mt. Gox. But that, if that helps, that gives you my impression of today compared to some of the previous major crashes. And if you want to talk about 2020 was actually, I thought it was over. I was like, I just launched the newsletter, and then with the global financial crisis, and I was like, what the? I launched my newsletter 3 days before everything collapsed. And I was like, that's it. It's done. And if you remember right, the Maker protocol liquidated the vaults. Well, I don't know if they call it. My bad. I'm mixing up terms. But Maker protocol actually liquidated positions down to zero. People were picking up ETH for $0 when the markets crashed at the global financial crisis. But what happened in the coming weeks? It really surprised me. People emailed me, "Hey, I'm frustrated with the global financial system. This is bullshit. It's time to get into crypto." So just think about that, because the world's economy, at least in the West, and China too, which are that's a big chunk of the world's GDP, are in very delicate positions. Very delicate positions. And if something bad happens in the stock market, people start losing jobs, financial, fiscal, monetary, whatever decisions, if that pisses enough people off, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I'm not saying that that's going to happen. But if we get something like that, I mean, maybe we run 2020 to 2021 again. I don't know. But nobody asked about 2020. I just happened to think of it at the very end of this video. Relax and enjoy the ride.